So it's a very, very important topic, and thank you for asking it, because it's one of the very sore areas of this fourth industrial revolution. Because if you remember, in the very beginnings, I mentioned there are four pillars, if I can say, that were really driving it, which was, supercomputers, the processing power. It was the connection of so many different things, like the Internet of Things, the Internet itself, the power it has, but more importantly, was the amount of data that was being collected and processed and being used. And the point I'm trying to say is that this is not actually just about data being collected, privacy data from us or anything like that. It's even the data that we're receiving. How important, how accurate is that data? How, you have this concept of fake news that are coming out, whereby, people are just putting things out there and saying this is what's happening, even though it's not true, which gives a whole issue around the reliability of this information. How reliable is the information that you're receiving? So it becomes very important that just those two factors, that if we don't step in as government or regulation bodies to make sure that companies that are managing, this data are doing it with ethical reasons and allowing that, a lot of work is being taken into making sure that the information is protected, the information is correct, and that it's only like the right people or the right level of people have access to analyzing and using that data. If those three things are not being done, you will create cases whereby now, three areas I'll speak about. One, from a psychological point of view, do you understand? Because now we are able to get this data from you, even without your consent. We're able to understand you. We're able to create a digital version of you and understand, see what your behaviors are and stuff like that. And that can be used against you, whereby, things from your past can be picked up to make a political point or political view. I'm like, you've seen a number of videos of politicians coming out of nowhere, or pictures or voice recordings or all of that stuff coming out of nowhere. How do you manage that? If you're trying to make sure that you have a country that is really, progressive and democratic, how do you make sure that the data that's being used to drive that is correct? The other aspect of it is that if you want a country that's going to be, coming up with solutions, coming up with a way of thinking, that means we first need to have a good baseline of understanding what the real truth about certain things are. That means facts about certain things are. But if it's easy for people now to just put in their own facts and putting their own news and putting their own ways of thinking, it becomes hard for people to say, let's come together and work together, because people are being split into different ways of thinking or different bubbles. And it kind of creates a situation where this whole idea where Africa is coming together, the whole country is coming together, becomes a bit difficult, because everyone has just got so many different views because of the information they're being fed, being so far apart from each other. So just those areas. And then obviously the third one being that if now we don't also govern who has access to that, you will have people like companies, or people like even politicians or even presidents in some countries, using the social media to feed the propaganda or the information that they need to feed, so that they keep people seeing things a certain way, and are not allowing that natural growth of human people and understanding each other and learning and understanding the world we live in. So you see that social media, just one tool, is able to create all of these different messes around us. So if all of this is never governed, never regulated, and never really, made sure that the correct pillars are put in place to eradicate these type of problems, it's going to continue to be a problem. It become a problem to a point where it's going to really create so much havoc in so many countries.